All right, guys, I want to go over something that we keep getting questions on, and this is vitally important when you're freehand carving signs, the way we teach. What you want to absolutely make sure of is that, and this is that new little router that I really like, what you absolutely want to make sure of is that you're not just holding the router. See, I can hold the router with my handles like this, but this is not the way I carve. The way you're going to be able to hold a line is make sure that both of your hands, if possible, are in contact with the board and the router at the same time. All you're really doing is you're guiding this router to where it is you want it to be. But you can see my hands are in contact with the board. If you just have your hands on the router and you try and hold that straight line without touching that board, that's probably the reason you're not being able to hold a better line than what you are. We get questions on this quite often. I thought I had covered it, but I want to make absolutely sure you guys understand. You have to hold the router and have contact with the board at the same time. If you don't have that perspective, and you don't have a good hold of that router and be able to guide it where it is that you want it to go. So I just wanted to cover that and make absolutely sure you guys understood that. Now we're going to shut this off and we're going to go ahead and get a close-up on, and you guys can watch me carve these letters. Okay, guys, here we go. I'm going to start carving a couple letters, so I'll do this W and this E so you can see how we do it. Here we go. Okay, now something I didn't say when I started carving. I'm carving somewhere between 3/16 and a quarter, whatever you feel is appropriate, depending on what router bit. Now, if you're using our standard profile bit, which is what this bit is, you'll be somewhere between 3/16 and a quarter inch deep. So we're going to shut the camera off and move on. Okay, guys, we're back now. I've done this, I went ahead and carved this S outset. Now I'm going to carve the rest of these letters inset, but I'm going to do something different that you guys have never seen us do before. I'm going to carve this first two letters with the actual profile bit. Normally when we talk about inset letters, we always use the 60 degree or the 90 degree on big inset letters. But I'm going to show you a technique where you can actually carve the inset letters with this profile bit. There's just a couple things that I need to talk about once I get this done, and I'll go ahead and carve this, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So now what I want to talk about is when you carve inset letters with a profile bit, you've left a lot of wood in there that needs to come out. So what I would do is go back in there, not necessarily with a profile bit, although you could. I would go back in there with a 60 degree or a cleanup bit and take the rest of that out, just like you would background on an outset letter. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll shut the camera off, and then we'll carve. I'll do this one again off camera, like I've done this one, and then we'll carve the last two letters with a 60 degree. All right, guys, we're back. So what I've done is I went ahead and carved this E with a profile bit, an inset letter, obviously. Now I need to go in and take out the rest of this leftover wood in there. So I put a 60 degree V-groove in, and I'm going to go ahead and take out the rest of that wood, much like I would do background on outset letters, so that you can see kind of how that works. And then I'll go ahead and carve this R with the 60 degree V-groove. So here we go. A little deep. I'm going to make that a little bit shallower for this. Okay, guys, that's pretty much the way it's done. Now, you will notice if you go back and watch, when I did this point, I was here and I had my base down, but then when I did that point, I lifted the edge a little bit, but notice I still have contact with the board. And then I brought it back down, and I'm back down to full depth. So when you need to, I even did that on the cleanup in some of these. If I was at full depth, I might have hit the edge of those letters. So I just lift the router base just a little bit, tip it up so you're not quite as deep, and then when you can go full depth, you just drop it down and do your cleanup. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of point that out, just a matter of information. So we're going to shut the camera off now, and I'm going to go ahead and finish up this N just like I did this R with the 60-degree